PWF Empire is live. Thank you all for tuning in tonight as we discuss some of the hot topics that are swirling about in WWE. We have a lot of things to discuss. This brand split, it's been a blessing and a curse in some cases, but when it comes to preparing for the show, I guess it's a lot of fun in trying to narrow down all of the topics that we're going to discuss, and we got some help from you all tonight on Twitter, and we'll be getting that. We'll have a block of the show specifically devoted to answering some of the questions you pose to us with your topic suggestions on Twitter. So thank you to all of you who did that. But before we get there, let me go ahead and introduce the hosting panel for tonight. It's me along with Evan and Steven. What is up, guys?
How's it going on?
Amazingly well. Like, I see you and you don't have your Donald Trump hat over these last 2 weeks. I guess I understand why.
Well, I did have it last time. I can get it out again if you'd like.
No, thank you. Are you sure you want to be seen with it on now? I don't know about
Well, now
that
that you said that, I kind of have to go get it. I'm not gonna.
Okay,
See,
and
we
Evan is here too.
We had ourselves an entire show with no Donald Trump hat, and then you had to go out and say something.
An entire show. It was only like 1 minute.
We were gonna get the whole show though without it.
You were gonna get it, but I was gonna give the audience some relief from the Donald Trump, because I know when I wear the hat, it's too much winning. You know, you win too much. Just like when he becomes the president, you're going to say, Mr. President, we're winning too much. I can't stand all this winning. And he's going to say, it's too bad. We're going to keep on winning. So, you know, I was trying to
Let me just go ahead and say, as loud as my mouth is, that would be terrible for me if Donald Trump became president, because I'm actually in the military and he would be the commander-in-chief of the military, and it would be against protocol for me to say anything negative about him, because he'd technically be my boss. So let's hope that doesn't happen. But that, if he loses that day after, oh yeah, that's a fucking party. But anyway, let's talk about some wrestling now. So I'm gonna need for you all, one of you, just one, to be decisive, direct. What the hell are we gonna talk about first? Is it gonna be Dolph Ziggler and Dean Ambrose, or Finn Balor and Seth Rollins? We're building a sort of a tradition here on PWF Empire Live. Evan?
Oh, well, to be fair, I think we should start with Ziggler and Ambrose. I don't even know. I'm like, who the hell is feuding with who here? Okay, so let's do Ziggler and Ambrose on SmackDown. I think that's who we should start with. Because we did Raw last week. Now let's do the SmackDown title picture this week. I think that's only fair.
No, fuck fairness. No. But
on PWF Empire Live, we are always fair. That is rule number one. It's the unwritten rule. Come on, we gotta be fair. Remember, criticize when necessary and give credit where credit is due. All that stuff.
That is not the same thing at all. I need to talk to the person in. I got to talk to the person in charge. Who the hell came up with these rules?
See, they may not be the same thing, but it basically insinuates fairness. So we are fair, okay. And we once again will be fair. As last week we talked Raw first, this week we could talk SmackDown first. And just for you, if you hate it so much, hey, we can get the stuff you hate out of the way first. It's a good thing. It's a good thing.
That was some nice spin there. I'll accept that.
I got to politic my way out of it now.
Keeping up with the trend. I see you putting in work over there. Okay, I understand.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, we have Dolph Ziggler and Dean Ambrose to feud over the WWE Super Intercontinental Championship. On SmackDown.
Are you really gonna keep calling it that?
When they show me it's a world championship, then I'll start referring to it as such.
Well,
that's only fair.
What do you mean when they show you the world championship? It's been headlining every pay-per-view.
Because it was the only option then.
Okay.
I mean, with a feud like Dean Ambrose and Dolph Ziggler, they have a lot of work to do, and I guess this ties into current events. On this last episode of SmackDown, I don't think that they did that work at all. It was a very standard build for Dean Ambrose and Dolph Ziggler. They told that age-old story of, will these two adversaries come together and, you know, hold it together so they can defeat this immediate threat. And it just didn't resonate with me, but I guess we can find out what it did for you guys.
You know, I've been liking the build more than I thought I would. I'm actually interested in the feud, despite the fact that I thought it'd be kind of a boring feud. That doesn't mean I'm sold on it being the SummerSlam main event, because I'm not. I still think Ziggler is not a good opponent for SummerSlam. I don't know why they couldn't have waited until, you know, Backlash. That's the next one, right? If they're gonna do something like this. But as far as the feud goes, it's actually interesting to me, just because babyface versus babyface feuds are always kind of more interesting than your run-of-the-mill heel versus face feuds. So in terms of that, I've enjoyed it. But yeah, you're right. It didn't live up to what it had to in order to actually knock it out of the ballpark, which is something, if you're going Ziggler versus Ambrose, you got to be doing. And they like you said, it was very standard, and I enjoyed it for something standard. But you can't go with standard when you have something like this.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat, man. I've enjoyed this build-up more than I really would like to admit, because I still don't like the match because of Dolph Ziggler coming out of absolutely nowhere. Talk about an RKO out of nowhere. We got Dolph Ziggler out of nowhere.
I mean, push
this guy was
nowhere.
Yeah, I mean, this guy's pre-showing against Baron Corbin, and now here he is in the main event. And I still think he's a good wrestler. I still think that he is main event worthy. I know me and Steven have debated that before, where, you know, Steven said he was never main event worthy. I think he could be. He just isn't because of where the hell he is. And I can't forget 3 years of bad booking or pre-show or mid-card stuff, and then suddenly be like, you know what? He's good for the WWE title. But they did tell me a nice story, especially last week, with him redeeming himself, and I think they wanted to do that again here, and then tag match, having them work together. It's been done many times, but it worked out for me. And then I like that Ambrose hit the dirty deeds on him to end the night. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I've enjoyed the personalities coming from Dean and Ziggler. I feel like Ziggler, I get the feeling that he's actually, like, he has a chip on his shoulder again. And I know he's always sort of had one, but I've always got the feeling that he's kind of complacent. Even though he says he's not, he never really did anything to make me feel like he wasn't. But now, like, when he gives his promos against Ambrose, I feel like he's really kind of pissed off. And I like that coming from him. And as far as Ambrose goes, I liked last week I like everything he said in his promo. I thought that was a great promo, and that really helped the feud because
yes, it was.
It brought the much needed reality to the feud. You know, if you're gonna acknowledge the things that we're saying, it's a lot better. It makes the feud. I get more invested in it that way. If you actually bring to the table stuff that everyone's thinking.
Well, do you all have anything more to say on Ziggler and Ambrose? Because I'm honestly in a position right now where I don't have anything to say. It's just like, it happened. Okay, what the hell else you got?
I'm hoping for a heel turn. I'm hoping one of them needs to turn heel, and maybe they can extend it to Backlash and have a bit of a more interesting build-up going into there.
I'm hoping it's Dolph Ziggler.
Yeah, well, to me, either one is fine. I've been waiting for an Ambrose heel turn forever, but...
Oh, I know.
Yeah, I've been, like, literally years I've been waiting for it.
So. Yeah,
me too. I always thought Ambrose would be a better heel than face, so I'm with you. But he's actually done a pretty damn good job, and I think because people like him so much, it works, you know? But either guy turning heel would be fine. I think that it almost needs to happen for me to want to see this match a second time. And to be honest, I'm not really wanting to see it that bad here. If you had two credible guys going at it, I would want to see this match very much. But Ambrose is just reaching that element of credibility now because he pinned both Reigns and Rollins within the course of a week. I think that was when he really started to look the most credible that he's looked, is within this last month. And now his first opponent since the Shield stuff is Dolph Ziggler. So it's just like, it just feels like a step back, you know?
Alrighty, can we talk about the world title feud over on... Well, I can't even say world title. This is a universal championship.
Oh, so you respect
Forget
the
the
one
world.
that doesn't even exist yet, but...
Looking at the competitors, they allow me to respect the title. That's how it works. You need to have.
I disagree somewhat.
We can't just do this shit where it's like, okay, well, a person who held the championship 10 years ago matters more than the person who's holding it now for the prestige of that title and what it really means. Like, we need the people. We need strong characters going head to head, and that defines what a championship is. And based off of what I got on Monday Night Raw, some damn good characters in the form of Seth Rollins and Finn Balor squaring up for the WWE Universal Championship. We had Seth Rollins go out, deliver a preemptive strike to Finn Balor, and talking about this mythological inspiration that he has for his character. And Seth was saying that instead of being inspired by myths, he was going to become one himself, become this mythical god. And 200 years in the future, people were going to be talking about Seth Rollins. Then we had Finn Balor actually break down what Finn and what Balor meant and how that forms a foundation of who he is and the demon. We got a little bit of a look at the demon before SummerSlam. So all in all, I thought it was a great outing for both guys on Raw. But I don't know. What say you, Stephen, Evan, and the viewers of PWF Empire Live?
I was looking at Finn Balor stand next to Rollins last week. I wasn't on the show last week, so I couldn't say this, but I said it on Twitter. And Finn Balor looked like a little bitch.
Are you saying this because of size or something else?
I gotta say it's mostly size, but it's also just the way, I don't know what it is. It's like I didn't even expect that to happen. I didn't see that coming because I always knew Finn Balor was a small guy, but I don't know if it's just me, but I saw him next to Rollins and I'm like, who is this guy? He doesn't compel me at all. This guy.
But would you have said that about Daniel Bryan, who's even smaller?
No.
But why?
I don't know. I can't tell you.
Okay, I'm just wondering. I'm not like trying to like back you into a corner. I'm just like wondering where you're at.
I see. It's not even just the size. I guess that's a good point, because then it would be just the size. I don't know. Finn Balor doesn't compel me. I gotta say, maybe it's because he's more charismatic in the ring, but I think a lot of things are hyping this guy up more than he actually is. I think he's propped up a lot by that entrance, by the demon costume, and by the NXT glamour. When I saw him on Raw next to Rollins, I just didn't think he looked like a star.
Well, let me ask you this, based off of what you just said. You said that he was propped up by the entrance and the whole demon persona. Do you buy into that persona and the story behind it? Because that matters a great deal. Because I look at Finn Balor and I know that, you know, the argument could be made that he's undersized, but when you put him in the ring with someone like a Samoa Joe, who's a whole hell of a lot bigger than Seth Rollins is, and I'm just speaking from my perspective, if I can look at Finn Balor versus Samoa Joe, and because of what he brings to the table with his character and the demon and the, you know, the larger than life persona that's attached to it, if I can look at those two people and say that I buy them being on an equal playing field, that's me buying into that whole demon persona. So that's very important with who Finn Balor is in the WWE universe. So do you not buy into that?
You know, I don't know what it is, because now the more I think about it, the more it's not really the size thing. It is the size thing because that struck me immediately, but I guess that's not all it is. I think that so far the way they're presenting him is not good. As far as buying into the demon persona, I don't really buy into it because I feel like it's not spelled out for me enough what the difference is. I get that he literally outlined the mythology behind Finn Balor on Raw, but to me it's just like when he puts on the demon paint, he just becomes more in the zone. Then it makes me think, why doesn't he always wear the demon paint? Like, what is it about him that really changes? I think there should be a more stark contrast there. Not necessarily like give him a split personality thing, but there should be more of a thing there. I think Balor could benefit a lot from a more enigmatic sort of presentation. I think you wanna hide him as much as possible, kind of like a Sting. Don't put him plain in the ring next to Seth Rollins is what I'm saying. Because when I saw that, I just I couldn't buy the Finn Balor thing anymore. You know, I felt like I was looking at a generic guy standing next to Seth Rollins, who to me looks like a star in terms of his look. And this could all be just bullshit aesthetic nonsense that I'm saying. Like, to me, it's not. I'm not really articulating something that I've thought out. This was my gut impression. Do you know what I'm saying?
Maybe I could help you out here, because with you questioning, okay, well, if the demon is who he turns into when, you know, shit is about to get real, it's kind of like, and this is just me listening to you trying to interpret it in my, you know, J way. That rhyme, that was nice. Anyway, could it be that you're getting the message from WWE that regular old Finn is by default inadequate? Because it's like, if you're telling me this guy transforms into the demon when shit is real, like, why should I care about this guy in his regular form? Is it something like that?
No, it's not that. He just looks inadequate. It has a lot to do with the look and his mic skills. Like, when he went up against Rollins on the mic, I just felt like I wasn't getting anything compelling from him. Just looking at him and hearing him talk, I felt like he was unprepared for this position. Now, when he puts on the makeup and has the cool entrance, I could get into it. But that's what I'm saying, is he propped up by that stuff? And maybe I'm the only one who thinks that, but that's just how it felt to me.
Well, I think he is, but I'm wondering, like, is that okay? Like, I look at that and I say, yeah, what's the problem with that?
That is okay. I'm all for propping up anyone in any way. That's the old, like, play to the strengths thing and hide the weaknesses. That's a good idea. But then I wondered, that's why I said present him in a better way, like, be more strategic with how you bring him out. I think you don't want to make him look like a normal guy. You want to make him look like an enigma. Sort of like Jeff Hardy was presented, sort of like Sting was presented. You want to make him look like he's not a regular old dude who just happens to get in the zone when he puts on the makeup, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think Jeff Hardy had his moments of kind of feeling like that too, though.
Oh yeah, he
I
definitely
personally
did.
Yeah, I mean, but I get what you're saying. Like, Jeff Hardy
Jeff Hardy had a little help being an enigma, but
yeah, he had a little.
That's another story for another day.
Drugs or, you know, a couple other sources of happiness. Anyway, but yeah, I think Finn Balor kind of unlocking a new version of himself every time he becomes the demon is actually really amazing. But I mean, I think he definitely sticks out amongst the crowd, but I think that they could do a whole hell of a lot more to make him stick out a lot more. Like, he feels like a regular Joe during some of the promo he cut last week, for example. But this week, the vignette he had made him feel like he wasn't an everyday Joe. I really loved that vignette they did this week. The effects, the demon eyes and stuff. I was like, man, that... And, you know, and I even said that, like, it could... I could see why people could say that came off a little bit hokey. But the thing is, that's good. It doesn't need to always come off with a cool factor. I think it did come off a little bit maybe cheesy in a way, but like I compare it to a lot of superhero films. There are cheesy moments in those films, but they're still awesome. Because it's like, I don't know, that's what gets you into these characters in the first place, is sometimes the things that would make you love them when you're a kid. And that's what I loved. I love that element to it. It made him feel like he was larger than life. But I got more out of that vignette than I have in anything else he's done on the main roster so far, to be fair. But I personally think that Finn Balor's character and the way it's done is good. And I do think he stands up to Seth Rollins pretty well. Even though, yes, he is definitely smaller, I think he stands up to him well. I really loved their promo last week. And the promo Rollins cut this week was... through the roof good. It was 10 out of 10 good. I loved that promo.
Yeah, that was
Rollins.
A good promo.
Yeah.
He's really gotten great on the mic.
He has improved
he has.
a ton.
I remember, you know, when he, within those first few months of the heel turn solo run, it was a little rough. But he's improved drastically since then. So props to you, Seth Rollins. We're getting a comment in the chat from Julian Campbell saying, Balor is a generic guy in a way. When I look at his character, I see a clean-cut babyface, but with a twist. And I like that. Okay. What do we have next? Okay, now we're going to go to the Twitter topics, the topics that were suggested by the viewers of the program over on Twitter. And if you would like to follow us on Twitter, you can follow me at PWF Empire. It's right on the screen, right down there. You can follow Evan at EM Ultra Official. And you can follow Steven at Other Odie. Okay, so let's go ahead and address these Twitter topics. We have a comment from Icebreaker. He says, or he asks us, is Owens being underutilized?
Yes.
That's an easy one. Yeah. But, I mean, when you look at it from, when you look at it from, I guess, a storyline perspective, I guess we do have to acknowledge the fact that he did lose a pretty big match at the last pay-per-view versus Sami Zayn. So, by nature, his order in, the goings-on in WWE, it should drop. And I guess that has happened, but it's kind of weird to look at this situation and see Kevin Owens on TV involved in a storyline with the person who actually beat him. Nothing's going on. I don't even think Sami Zayn was on this last episode of Raw. So, hell, if you want to talk about somebody being underutilized, Kevin Owens is, and Sami Zayn, he definitely is too.
Yeah, I mean, Owens is a weird case because he's the guy who beat John Cena, as we say, squeaky clean, clean as a whistle, and all those other little jokes we make. But now he's I'm not even going to say he's in a bad program right now. He's in an entertaining program with Jericho and Enzo and Cass, but it's just up and down. You're not really sure what his place is. It seems like he reminds me a lot of CM Punk in a way, because no matter what,
I know that was coming.
No matter what they give him, he's always entertaining. He always takes it and he makes it his own. But
I know on this show we've said multiple times that he's one of those guys that you still look at and say, hey, I still take him seriously, even if he's involved in something that's, mediocre, not even that big of a deal. I still you know what? I still take Kevin Owens seriously, and I do.
He's not in the worst position. I mean, they always have something for him. It's not like he's forgotten. But it's clear that he's not the top priority, and I don't know if he ever will be in terms of being a heel. I don't expect him to ever be the top guy, but I would like to see him be the top heel.
I mean, they're struggling over on SmackDown. They could use a bit of help, and I don't even know why Kevin Owens is on Monday Night Raw, but I guess we're past that now. I pretty much agree with my co-host here. Kevin Owens is that guy. You can look at him and be entertained by whatever program that he's working at the moment, but you would just look and say that simply being entertained by Kevin Owens, it's not enough. Like, I want more out of him, and I know he's talented, and that talent should demand a higher position on the card, but this is what we have to deal with now, and I guess, for the time being, I can enjoy the antics with him and Jericho. It's a very quirky partnership, and it's weird, but I like it, and they have a lot of fun on screen together, and, I'm entertained by it. Next up, we have a comment from Duke, former co-host of PWF, or he was a co-host on PWF Empire Live temporarily. He stepped in before Steven became a permanent co-host after Charlie left the show, and he was a co-host on PWTR also. Still a part of PWF Empire overall, but he wants us to comment on Shelton Benjamin's injury. So we saw that vignette on SmackDown a few weeks ago. Shelton Benjamin was set to make his way back to the WWE, but there was this unforeseen injury that popped up on the scene, and I guess it was revealed during the medical pre-screening tests that WWE does before they officially sign a talent, and he didn't even know he was injured. So I guess he's going to be getting surgery now, and his return to WWE has been put on ice. Very unfortunate situation, because I know a lot of folks were really looking forward to having Shelton Benjamin back in WWE, but I guess we're going to have to wait a little bit longer.
Yeah, this guy was excited about Shelton Benjamin coming up right here. Yeah, over here. I am I am heartbroken that Shelton Benjamin is not coming back, as he is like one of those guys that was one of my top favorites when he was in WWE. So I am so disappointed that we aren't going to see him. Now, my question, though, is I don't know if either one of you guys know more about the situation, but I'm confused. Is he still going to come back to WWE, or is that completely off the table now?
I think the thing is, go ahead. We can't say for sure now. I'm sure WWE will revisit the situation somewhere down the line, but I guess it's things that WWE does before they let you sign on the dotted line. They send you through these medical pre-screening tests, and if there's something that comes up, if there's an issue, they're like, the whole process stops. So we cannot officially say that Shelton Benjamin is a WWE superstar. We would all expect and hope for after the surgery, after he recovers, that he ends up coming to WWE, but no one can officially say as of now because he's not signed.
Okay, all right. I didn't know if he had been signed and then this injury happened. I wasn't sure, so okay, makes sense.
Yeah. It's really sad, you know, it sucks. And he's not getting any younger. He's like 40 right now, 41, right? So it's, you know.
Damn, I didn't even know he was that old.
Yep. It's unfortunate, and you hope that he's going to be able to come back, but this might take him out for, you know, another year or whatever, and it might be that they don't have any interest in him.
I just feel like he added an extra layer to SmackDown. You know what I mean? He was like that guy that, like, because we mentioned, you know, Kevin Owens, Cesaro, some of these different guys that we've talked about these last few weeks who would have been a good fit on SmackDown, but they're not on SmackDown. So Shelton Benjamin kind of would have filled that role, in my opinion. Would have been that other guy who you could see going. He could be a WWE title contender. He could be an IC title contender. He could feud with anybody, and it could be cool. It could be entertaining. It could be enjoyable. So I think that WWE's really losing out. Not their fault, not his fault, not anybody's fault. Just it's a really missed opportunity for him to not be like rearing to go. Because I'll tell you, when I saw that he was coming back, I was like, you know, jumping for joy. That was the highlight of the first SmackDown after the brand split for me, was the fact that Shelton Benjamin was going to be coming back. So I'm very disappointed.
Yeah, that says a lot.
Yeah, that's how
I see somebody in the chat is saying Jay is always so hard on SmackDown. I guess this is my new thing now.
And the thing is, I'm not really hard on it. I've actually enjoyed it, but myself, quite a bit. But I mean, that SmackDown to me was the weakest of the three so far. You know, I'm not including the draft one. And not only that, but I mean, because I like Shelton Benjamin so much, it instantly became the highlight of the night for me. I mean, there would have had to have been something else major for it to be better. And it still doesn't mean the show was bad. Just that, like, come on, I never thought Shelton was coming back ever. So, yeah, pretty exciting.
Okay, and the final comment that we're going to be addressing from Twitter is from Josh. He wants us to talk about the Austin and Ambrose podcast, especially about the Brock, and the Mania match. So, as a lot of you know, the Stone Cold podcast was on the WWE Network after Raw this week, and Stone Cold interviewed the current Super Intercontinental Champion, Dean Ambrose. He talked about... when they show me it's a world championship, I'll start referring to it as such. We've already addressed this. So Dean Ambrose, he was there, and he was talking about a lot on the show. And one of the... before we get there, let me talk about my overall thought on this interview, though. This interview with Dean Ambrose was weird, uncomfortable, and unnecessarily tense. I was watching this interview like, God damn, do they have heat with each other? Like, I thought at one point they were just going to hop up from the table and square up, because it was just some tension in the air that I didn't really understand. And I'm not necessarily saying that it made for a bad interview. It's just that you can tell both men were kind of annoyed by the other in parts. And it started off kind of rocky because Stone Cold was asking about Dean Ambrose's childhood, and he was clearly trying to pull something out of him that Ambrose was unwilling to give. And there was this one moment where Stone Cold asked him about his childhood, and he said something like, so did you have a happy childhood? And Ambrose was like, oh, why are you surprised that I had a happy childhood? And then Stone Cold was like, I heard something about... what did he say? Public housing, and, you know, is that not true? And I thought that was a little off. Like, if I could ding Stone Cold for anything, it would be him automatically attaching, public housing to an unhappy childhood as if, oh, hey, shit, if you're poor, you couldn't have been happy at all. But, and maybe Ambrose got offended by that too, but the interview progressed on, and at one point during the interview, they talked about the match with Brock Lesnar that Dean Ambrose had at WrestleMania this year, and Dean Ambrose expressed his disappointment with how everything turned out. I think he actually said he came to the ring pissed off because he threw out so many ideas at Brock Lesnar, and pretty much all of them were turned down. And this is the word that he actually used to describe Brock himself. He said he was lazy, and he didn't want to make the match a spectacle or, want to make the match anything at all. So, yeah, this is a situation, and this is a match that has been talked about a great deal on PWF Empire Live. So hearing this from Ambrose, does that cause you to think about anything differently with this match with him and Brock?
Yeah, it definitely explains a lot, It makes me feel like it's not the WWE who fucked up the match. If I could believe this, it's biased in favor of Ambrose, so we don't really know the whole story. But it explains so much about that match, which we all felt really disappointed in, and it's good to know that Ambrose also felt disappointed in it, because if he wasn't disappointed in it, I would be very confused.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so would I. Yeah, for sure. But you know what? It really doesn't surprise me with Brock Lesnar. That doesn't surprise me one bit. The way that he has always seemed like the type of guy who's, I don't want to say he's only in it for the money, but he's a chief reason why he's still...
He'd say that.
He'd say it, yeah. He'd say it more than I would. Out of respect to him as a competitor, I don't want to say that. I'll be fucking straight up honest, but...
Maybe a little fear, too?
Yeah, a little fear that he'll say, you know what? I didn't like that. And I'm going to say, oh, but my arms need to be safe, man.
This is going to be running down Evan's leg.
Yeah, man. I'm going to be like McMahon with Austin with the gun, man. I'm going to be peeing my pants. Anyway, I seriously, have to say, I mean, he doesn't seem like the type of guy who would go down for many ideas anyway. Whatever. It's just a match. It's just another night. To him, it's just another a date to work. He only works a few dates a year anyway, and I think he looks at it as, I'm the spectacle. I'm the star. I think that's how Brock Lesnar sees it. To a degree, is he right? I would say yes, but I still think that Ambrose's match with Lesnar was his worst match since he's been back, and that's 4.5 years.
Man, that just hit me there when you said that whole thing about Brock Lesnar thinking I'm the spectacle, because that perfectly explains why he didn't get in the ring and want to do anything special, because he's like, my mere presence here is, gonna bring in the fans, and it's gonna, that's the spectacle. Damn, that hit me. Good stuff there, Evan.
I mean, Paul Heyman's always saying that, so it's hard to argue.
Well, there you go. Apparently, this is what art imitating life. So, yeah, but shit, it didn't really work out though the way that they would have imagined it to. And yeah, I pretty much agree with you all. I'm glad that Ambrose saw that match for exactly what it was, and it kind of sucks because you would hope in a situation like that's something that you can look back on and be proud of and say, damn it, I faced the beast at WrestleMania. But that he can't even look at that and act as if that's an achievement for his career or a highlight of his career, performing in a big time match at WrestleMania. And it sucks for Ambrose, and shit, me being a person that was in the audience having to watch it, sucked for me too. But for this interview as a whole, there was so much friction between Ambrose and Austin that it just came off very weird to me. You could tell that Stone Cold was disappointed in Ambrose in so many different aspects. He was disappointed in what Ambrose was bringing to the table, because he ended the interview literally telling Ambrose that he was resting on his laurels and he wanted to see him step it up. And then you could also tell he was disappointed in the way that Ambrose wasn't bringing any fire to the interview. And maybe that's something that you could hold against Dean Ambrose, not understanding that he's supposed to, bring a show to the interview. I know it's just a simple interview. You sit there and you talk and you answer questions and stuff, but he wanted to be chill, and Stone Cold is like, God damn it, there's an audience watching, and you're a top star in WWE. You need to understand that and, bring something out of yourself. And he just didn't at all.
I saw expressions on Stone Cold's face that I haven't seen since he was in the ring in the middle of a feud, making those faces at his opponents. He looked really
Or maybe it's tough enough with Ariane.
Well,
Miss Melina versus Alicia Fox.
Yes.
It's a great match.
Yeah,
one of the all-time greats.
I want to talk to her and ask her which specific match was she talking about, because I'm sure they've had like a million fucking matches. Like on what date? When was this match?
Yeah, who won that match anyway? Like, she wouldn't even be able to tell you.
Was that Cameron who said that?
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Cameron.
I think that Stone Cold is that like he usually when he interviews these guys, he has like an interested look on his face. Oh yeah, like even when AJ Styles was kind of somewhat laid back in his interview, but he was still expressing himself. It was pretty good. I thought it was an enjoyable one. But whereas Ambrose was kind of kicking his feet back, almost like, do I have to be here? And Stone Cold kind of had that Stone Cold look on his face, like, you got to be kidding me, man. Like, tell me something, So, but again, like you said, Jay, a couple of those questions are that's kind of a weird question to ask somebody at the same time. So I think both of these guys are kind of the reason why the interview didn't go that well.
I have so much to say about this interview, especially the parts at the end where Austin is calling out Ambrose, because I agree with that so much. As an Ambrose fan, I've been disappointed with Ambrose for a long time, and not all of it is his fault. I think he even mentions that. He says, like, no matter how many ideas you give them, sometimes you gotta accept that you're in someone else's playground or something like that. But on the other hand, you're talking to Austin, the guy who also had the same treatment of being rejected, the guy who they said, don't let him talk because he's not a good talker. Sometimes you just gotta do shit. Like, you just gotta go off the mic, you gotta go off the script, you gotta just do something. And I agree with that. Like, I want to see something edgy from Ambrose, because right now, I'm enjoying what I see from him, but I don't want to just have a standard experience with Ambrose. I want to feel like something special is happening, and I do think he is very complacent. I think that's a very good assessment, and I think Ambrose was offended by that. But as I see it, that is how it is. I think, and a lot of things that Ambrose was saying don't line up. I don't think Ambrose is evaluating his performance as well as he could be, because he was talking about how his style is more hard hitting, like he likes that like raw, hard hitting style, but when it comes to his offense, it doesn't look very good. It always looks kind of weak, right? So it's like I want to see something more from Ambrose, and this is from me, who I love Ambrose. I think he's like my secret favorite wrestler. I don't even really know how to say it. It's like he's the guy that can easily be my favorite wrestler if he reached the potential that I can see in him, but on a week-to-week basis, I don't really get that from him, and it's disappointing. There's a lot of things with his presentation that I don't like. I mean, minor things like his hair, I think looks like shit every day he comes out. You know what I mean? Like,
that kind of reminds me of CM Punk at the end of his run. His hair was shit. At the end too.
We all know Punk was phoning it in, and now, but Ambrose he's not, as far as we know, phoning it in, but he should look at something like this and say, well, it looks kind of like I look kind of fucking retarded with my hair like this. Like, it looks all wet. His hair looks fine when it's not, like, soaking wet, but when it's wet, it looks like there's, like seaweed on his head or something. You know what I mean? And this is just, like, a minor aesthetic thing, but I think it's an important thing. There's, like, all these presentation things within the ring. I'd say in the Shield, he has the weakest moveset of the three, easily. You know, he doesn't. Reigns has a much better moveset for all the shit that he gets about his.
He has a better moveset for his.
Say it louder for the people in the back, please. Say it louder for the people in the back.
Yeah, Reigns has a great moveset compared to Ambrose.
I'm gonna say I think Ambrose is a better in-ring wrestler. I just think that his WWE moveset is less impressive.
It is
much less impressive.
Like, I don't think for a second that Ambrose doesn't have better moves than this, and he could do better offense. So it's like, why isn't he? Well, I don't know, really, because that's why I think Austin
WWE does.
Yeah, WWE does they handicap you, but if you're Ambrose, you're on the top already. What do you have to lose? I guess you have to lose the championship.
That's exactly what I was thinking about watching that interview. Because I'll be damned if I'm sitting here as a WWE champion and you tell me that I'm resting on my laurels. Like, even if Ambrose felt as if he was going out to the ring giving his all, 100%. The fact that you have a legend in the industry who has your best interest at heart telling you that it seems as if you're resting on your laurels, that should piss you off, and not only just piss you off, but propel you to do something about it. And I look at a situation like that, I couldn't be a WWE superstar, or even if I was a WWE superstar, shit, maybe I wouldn't be one for long, because if you call me out, you really expect me to go out there the next night on the show just going off of a script? Hell no. I'm going rogue, baby. And yeah, I'm doing what the fuck I need to do to get to where I want to go. And that's just how it is.
And he didn't do that, which was disappointed. I didn't see anything different on SmackDown. He didn't try anything new. And maybe he's planning on it. Maybe he's just going to brush that off and say, well, Austin doesn't know what he's talking about. I think that'd be a huge mistake because, like you said, it's Austin. I mean, you should probably take him seriously. You know, he knows a thing or two about this. And to be fair, I don't think he will brush it off. I think it could be a case of, you know, you get defensive in the moment and then you reflect and you say, okay, maybe he was right. So we'll see. But, yeah, I really think that Ambrose needs some sort of spark, and I think the heel turn would do wonders for him, but again, I don't know. I don't know what it is with this guy. He does feel very complacent.
Okay, and we talked a little bit about Brock Lesnar. We're going to transition into a topic that's exclusively on the subject of Brock Lesnar now, because watching this interview with Dean Ambrose and seeing how he referred to Brock Lesnar as being lazy and him turning down all of these ideas, and then Brock just being in himself like that's a spectacle and simply his presence is enough to drive the conversation and excite people. I'm at a point right now where, if I'm being completely honest, no, it's not enough. And this match with him and Randy Orton, this is a dream match that I've wanted to see for a while now, and this is something that I could cross off of my list after SummerSlam. And I think after SummerSlam, I'd be at the point where I'm crossing off Brock Lesnar too, because I don't foresee any interest in who Brock Lesnar is or what he brings to the table after this match with Randy Orton.
He has no direction right now, and you could tell that because the feud with Randy wasn't a feud. It was just, it's basically an exhibition match with a feud tacked on to it. So it's like, okay, we have Brock Lesnar, who's going to fight Randy Orton. So it's like, he has no direction, and it's sort of problematic because he's so far and above everyone that you don't really know what to do with him.
I know what to do with him.
What?
Go after a fucking world title. Like,
yeah, but that's a problem for them because he's a part-timer and they don't want to, you know, it's problematic.
And yeah, it is problematic because they go around talking about how legit Brock Lesnar is, how tough Brock Lesnar is, how awesome Brock Lesnar is, and how him being him sets himself apart from everyone on the roster. It's difficult for me to hear all of those messages and then see other people, not just to see other people walking around with the title, knowing that Brock Lesnar was screwed out of the title and WWE has no interest whatsoever in revisiting that. Like, I look at Brock Lesnar and I ask, what is your motivation for being here? Is it just to have exhibition matches now? Like, I pretty much accepted that in the case of The Undertaker, and that's the fucking Undertaker. Like, I'll accept it in his case, but when it comes to Brock Lesnar, after this one with Randy Orton, if you are there just to have exhibition matches, then, I mean, there's no real use in me getting excited for it, especially seeing as they're not as good as they used to be, so...
Yeah, ever since Suplex City, it's like... It's a one-move match, right?
Right. I mean, honestly, like, that Ambrose match is, like, that's the chief example I'm going to use of how that was one of the... I think that was the worst match that he's had since he's been back, since 2012. And I think this match with Orton is going to be very good, but I don't know. Brock Lesnar's kind of been, like, floating, you know what I mean? Like, 2014 was his year, you know? He ends the streak, wins the title at SummerSlam. I mean, that's the best two pay-per-view stats I've ever seen in my life. He destroys John Cena, the guy who destroys everybody, and also, you know, beats The Undertaker for the first time ever at WrestleMania, all in 1 year, all in a 6-month period. And then, you know, he holds the belt all the way into 2015, the WrestleMania when he lost it, you know, to Rollins. Like, Jay said, screwed over. I mean, this guy's momentum for from 2014 to 2015, that whole year, he had so much momentum. Even if he wasn't on the show every single week, it didn't matter. And now it just kind of feels like, it's just like, oh, well, let's line somebody up for him, and let's give him that. And the Randy Orton versus Lesnar match, we've talked about on this show several times, how bad we actually want to see it. I did too. I still do. I'm really looking forward to it. But it feels like it's just kind of a match that's, and Orton's back from injury, let's go. It's like, what was the motivation to even make this match happen other than it kind of was just announced? There was no spark to it. There was no Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman coming out and saying Brock Lesnar is the conqueror. He is better than anybody who has ever laced up their boots in this entire industry of all time. He's the fastest guy to do this and the fastest guy to do that, and boom, there comes Randy Orton. I was the youngest world champion. I was part of evolution so quickly into my career. I came out of the same OVW class as you, Brock, and I've done just as much as you have. We just haven't crossed paths. Well, that could have been the comeback for Randy Orton. That could have been the feud sparked right then and there. You save us the freaking pay-per-view segment with Jericho, and then you just have that happen on the first week after Battleground. Just my opinion, but I think that would have been a hell of a lot better.
Alrighty, anything more to say on Brock?
I think this feud is also getting kind of hijacked by SmackDown versus Raw, just like the Shield was.
Yeah, I could get a sense of that too. And I guess this is something that we could talk about next. Speaking of SmackDown versus Raw, we're going to move on to buy or sell. We had the SmackDown general manager on Raw, and I was about to say, what he was doing on Raw, but shit, I don't know what he was doing on Raw. But I mean, it's nice to see Daniel Bryan, right? We talked about on the show last week how we were fine with WWE sacrificing a bit of the structure of the brand split to build for Randy Orton and Brock Lesnar, but we get an appearance from Daniel Bryan, the GM of SmackDown, over on Raw. So I guess we can revisit this structure of the brand split again, but this time with a different twist on it. Do you buy or sell WWE sacrificing a bit of the structure of the brand split so that Daniel Bryan could appear on Monday Night Raw?
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and buy, only because he's the GM, and if he was an active wrestler, I would have said sell all the way. But I'm gonna say I buy it, but I don't want to see this all the time. I don't want this to be something that's frequenting Raw or SmackDown all the time. It kind of worries me, to be completely honest. I especially didn't mind it for the Brock Lesnar Randy Orton stuff because it was announced prior to the brand split, and it's an interpromotional match. It's for a Big Four pay-per-view, whatever. But I don't know. I don't want to see it too many times. This one time, I'll let it slide. Not only will I let it slide, but I actually didn't mind the way it was done because I liked when Daniel Bryan was saying to Cesaro, hey, why don't you come to SmackDown? You're getting underutilized here on Raw. And I kind of like that it led to a U.S. title match opportunity for Cesaro. But it did feel kind of weird. It felt kind of out of place in a way at the same time.
I have no idea why he was invited or what he was doing there.
Yeah, me neither.
See, what I was thinking was they could come together and have this, come to Jesus meeting where they're like, okay, shit is getting out of hand. We have Brock Lesnar appearing on SmackDown. We have Randy Orton appearing on Raw. We need to develop some kind of structure. And if these guys are going to meet before SummerSlam as their bosses, we need to hash this out right here, right now, and have that negotiation happen on the show for everyone to see and, have that tension build up. I thought that's what the segment was going to be for, but they ended up just having Daniel Bryan go out there, stir up the pot a little bit with Cesaro and shit. To be quite honest, the only reason why Daniel Bryan was out there was to get a pop from the crowd. I guess it was good for, visuals and optics and stuff. Other than that, I don't see what the purpose was. So, yeah, I'm going to sell this specific instance here.
Yeah, I sell it too. I really don't get it. I mean, it wasn't spelled out why he was there, and like you said, I thought that's what it would be. I thought they would have some sort of discussion about Lesnar, but instead it was just Mick Foley brought him there to say, you took a shot at me on talking smack, and then Cesaro comes out and Rusev, and it's like, what is, it's so bizarre. I felt like this segment is one of the segments that you start at the opening of the show, and then you make the match Cesaro versus Rusev. But instead, you get Cesaro versus Rusev as the main event, even though Rusev was already out there and Cesaro had already wrestled a match. It's like, what is this? Is this them trying to do something new? Because it's stupid. You know, it doesn't make any sense.
Okay, speaking of Cesaro and Rusev, they close out the show with a United States Championship match, or they kind of close out the show, because a narrative that has been building since Raw is that Roman Reigns was taking Cesaro's shine, and WWE is using Cesaro to get Roman Reigns over, because at the end of the day, it was Roman Reigns who was standing tall after delivering a spear to the United States champion Rusev. So with the way that everything turned out on Monday Night Raw, do you buy or sell WWE using Cesaro to get Roman Reigns over?
Well, I don't really know if this was it really using Cesaro to get Reigns over, or was this just an attempt to build up two feuds at the same time? I mean, yes, sure, Roman Reigns is...
See, you can't look at it that way, because that's way too diplomatic, and that makes way too much sense, because we exist in an era where even when Roman Reigns is moved out of the fucking world title picture, there are people out there who just want to continue this campaign of we hate Roman Reigns by hook or by damn crook, even when you have to scrimp, scrape, and scrounge up bullshit and throw together an argument. They were using Cesaro to get Roman. Get out of here.
So do I buy or sell that they were using the simply put, that they were just using Cesaro? Because I sell the shit out of that if they're using Cesaro to. I don't think that's the case at all. In fact, the two of them almost didn't have any interaction at all. The only thing Roman Reigns even did in that entire segment was just come out and spear Rusev at the end, which makes complete sense because they're rivals. I loved the segment that Roman Reigns had with Rusev earlier, putting Lana on the cake and all that stuff. I thought that was a great segment. I really did. It might have seemed a little bit cheesy. Again, it's been done a million times with the wedding and the cake, and it's wrestling. But it worked. Roman Reigns took some shots at Rusev. He sounded like a badass. He walked around with confidence. I was like, man, this is the Roman Reigns I want to see. So, no, I don't buy into this idea that Cesaro was used to help get Reigns over. I think Cesaro helped to get himself over tonight, or on Monday night, personally.
And the funny thing about that is, for all of the folks out there who are saying WWE used Cesaro to get Roman Reigns over, shit, the star of the entire segment to me, I mean, that was a nice spear from Roman Reigns, but a very nice spear, might I add. But to me, the big story was Cesaro. That's my big question. I was wondering what's going to happen with Cesaro after this. Like, damn, he looked damn good in that match, and he has a cause to fight for now. Sheamus screwed him out of winning the United States Championship on 2 different occasions in that one little segment, and that could be used as momentum to build up a babyface there, to start providing a foundation for the character of Cesaro. So if WWE was using this just to get Roman Reigns over, shit, it failed, because the person I was talking about the most afterwards was Cesaro.
Were you, though? I wasn't talking about anyone because I thought the whole thing was dumb.
I mean, well,
I just think it's so
technically
stupid.
I was talking the most about Cesaro, even though I like the segment. I did like the segment.
I don't
Maybe
like
the
it.
setup of it was weird, but I did like it. I thought it did a lot for Cesaro.
I don't like that we're building to a third match with Sheamus with no stakes. I don't. In fact, ironically, if this is going to happen at SummerSlam, this is going to have the least stakes out of the 3 matches, because at least the other 2 were like number 1 contenders matches. So this is, I mean, this is backwards as all hell, and it's one of those things where it's one of the Baron Corbin Dolph Ziggler feuds, where it's like, what are they gonna fight 3 times in a row? Or do I care? I don't care. I don't.
I think the reason I do like this a lot better is because they're actually making they're maybe I'm falling for an illusion, but they're at least making me feel like that these two, meaning Sheamus and Cesaro, are at least going at it for proving themselves and for actually trying to earn a title shot, actually trying to say, hey, I deserve to be drafted higher, and here's why. So I don't know. It feels like there's actually a little something on the line. Whereas with Baron Corbin and Dolph Ziggler, it just felt like, why is this happening? And I still don't know
okay,
why.
that's true. It's not at the same level, but it's still like I've seen it 2 times already, and this has no stakes. So I don't know why I wouldn't want to see it again. I was more excited to see Cesaro win, because this would be really different if Cesaro won the title and then he's fighting Roman Reigns, because that's I don't even like Rusev versus Reigns. I think this is a stupid match because I don't know what they're doing with Reigns, and this is a completely different topic. But I mean, is it just a deep push? Like, what if they're gonna deep push him? Should they not turn him heel so that when they're ready to push him again, he could be a babyface again? It's like
good point.
I would rather see Reigns versus like another babyface because that's more edgy. You know, I'm gonna see him. I thought he would face Cesaro or Sami Zayn, but he's just facing Rusev.
And that's the same thing that I was thinking too, because if they were to put him with another babyface, that would signal a shift in the character of Roman Reigns, and that, I guess that was one of the biggest reasons why I was a little disheartened by him moving into a feud with Rusev, because it would give a signal to where not much is gonna change with the guy, and
this just
maybe
feels,
he does need a change.
Yeah, this feels like what they did last time with Reigns, where he at WrestleMania, where they booed him, so they said, okay, we'll back off a little and we'll de-push him a little. But we're just gearing up again for next time with no change. Don't worry. So it's like, I don't get it at all. And I know this is off topic, kind of. Well, I guess it's not. But the Reigns thing is really pissing me off because I don't know why they're so stubborn. You know, it's if you're gonna de-push him, then let him be a heel for 6 months or something, and then, like I've been saying, once you let him be a heel, he'll be over as a babyface in 6 months again. Like always happens. Like the New Day did, when everyone was literally calling for the New Day to, get off their TVs. Now they're the most over tag team in, well, I don't know, Enzo and Cass are kind of there too.
Not anymore. At one point they were, though.
So it's like all you got to do is let him be a heel for a bit. And this is beating a dead horse. I mean, everyone's been calling for the Reigns heel turn, but it just drives me nuts because at least then I could get it because they were going all out with Reigns as the top guy, but now they're not. So you could at least try to experiment a little, right?
I feel like him being a heel, he's that much more motivated to do so because now he's not the top guy anymore. Now they're pushing him away from the top spot, so he should be angry. And I mean, like I know somebody was saying on Twitter that he was coming across as an asshole or whatever, and I think it was Justin actually. I don't disagree with that, but the thing is, he was coming across as an asshole in a funny and enjoyable way that made you like it.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of like Steve Austin. He used to come across as an asshole all the time, but you loved him.
That's the biggest asshole of all time. But
he is the biggest asshole of all time, but he was a babyface, Like, you can be a terrible person on screen and people can still love you. Doesn't mean you're instantly a heel. Again, especially when you're against Rusev, who's, like, anti-America. Like, of course people are going to cheer if you're putting anti-Americans' face in a cake. Come on. So Roman Reigns looked like an ass, yes, but in a way that made people enjoy it, and I did enjoy it. But I do want him to turn full heel and get mad. When he lost that match to Finn Balor a couple weeks back, I wanted him to grab that microphone out of the interviewer's hand and just say, "Screw you," and get back in the ring and try to beat Finn Balor down and just make a statement.
Yeah, he looks like such a bitch right now because he lost.
He does.
He lost to Rollins. He lost the triple threat, and then he lost to Balor. And what does he do? He says, all right, maybe I'm not good enough for the main title. I'll go for Rusev. so I can't take him seriously anymore. I'm really pissed off because the whole hierarchy, I talked to Jay about this earlier, like the hierarchy to me in WWE makes no sense anymore. I don't know who's good anymore.
See, I've been trying to tell you for months. There's been an issue. It's becoming more apparent now with all of this, mixing and matching that they're doing for the purpose of this brand split. And that's something that we'll explore in the next few weeks that are upcoming with the kayfabe tier list. And that's something that you all have to look forward to. As for this episode of PWF Empire Live, we are done. Thank you for joining us. I'll be on, I think, on Friday with Cass. We'll be talking about the Cruiserweight Classic. We'll be talking about NXT. Big contract signing with Asuka and Bayley. I'm going to watch that after I get off of here. And some more stuff going on in the world of wrestling. Until then, thank you all for tuning in, and we'll catch you later. Peace.